Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin born Ios Vissarionovich Jugashvili d 18th of December OS December 6, 1878 1 March 5, 1953 was a Georgian revolutionary and Soviet political leader who led the Soviet Union from 1922 until his death in 1953. He held power as General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union 1922-1952 and Chairman of the Council of Ministers of the Soviet Union 1941-1953. Initially governing the country as part of a collective leadership, he consolidated power to become a dictator by the 1930s. Ideologically adhering to the Leninist interpretation of Marxism, he formalized these ideas as Marxism-Leninism, while his own policies are called Stalinism. Born to a poor family in Gori in the Russian Empire now Georgia, Stalin attended the Tbilisi Spiritual Seminary before joining the Marxist Russian Social Democratic Labor Party. He edited the party's newspaper, Pravda, and raised funds for Vladimir Lenin's Bolshevik faction via robberies, kidnappings and protection rackets. Repeatedly arrested, he underwent several internal exiles. After the Bolsheviks seized power in the October Revolution and created a one-party state under the new Communist Party in 1917, Stalin joined its governing Politburo. Serving in the Russian Civil War before overseeing the Soviet Union's establishment in 1922, Stalin assumed leadership over the country following Lenin's death in 1924. Under Stalin, socialism in one country became a central tenet of the party's dogma. As a result of his 5-year plans, the country underwent agricultural collectivization and rapid industrialization, creating a centralized command economy. Severe disruptions to food production contributed to the famine of 1930-33 that killed millions. To eradicate accused enemies of the working class, Stalin instituted the Great Purge, in which over 1 million were imprisoned and at least 700,000 executed between 1934 and 1939. By 1937, he had absolute control over the party and government. Stalin also further expanded the Gulag system of forced labor camps. Stalin promoted Marxism-Leninism abroad through the Communist International and supported European anti-fascist movements during the 1930s, particularly in the Spanish Civil War. In 1939, his regime signed a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany, resulting in the Soviet invasion of Poland. Germany ended the pact by invading the Soviet Union in 1941. Despite initial catastrophes, the Soviet Red Army repelled the German invasion and captured Berlin in 1945, ending World War II in Europe. Amid the war, the Soviets annexed the Baltic states and Bessarabia and North Bukovina, subsequently establishing Soviet-aligned governments throughout Central and Eastern Europe and in parts of East Asia. The Soviet Union and the United States emerged as global superpowers and entered a period of tension, the Cold War. Stalin presided over the Soviet post-war reconstruction and its development of an atomic bomb in 1949. During these years, the country experienced another major famine and an anti-Semitic campaign that culminated in the Doctor's Plot. After Stalin's death in 1953, he was eventually succeeded by Nikita Khrushchev, who subsequently denounced his rule and initiated the de-Stalinization of Soviet society. Widely considered to be one of the 20th century's most significant figures, Stalin was the subject of a pervasive personality cult within the international Marxist-Leninist movement, which revered him as a champion of the working class and socialism. Since the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Stalin has retained popularity in Russia and Georgia as a victorious wartime leader who cemented the Soviet Union's status as a leading world power. Conversely, his regime has been described as totalitarian, and has been widely condemned for overseeing mass repression, ethnic cleansing, wide-scale deportation, hundreds of thousands of executions, and famines that killed millions of executions, childhood to young adulthood. 1878-1899 Stalin was born in the Georgian town of Gori, then part of the Tiflis Governorate of the Russian Empire and home to a mix of Georgian, Azerbaijanian, Armenian, Russian, and Jewish communities. He was born on 18th of December OS December 6, 1878 4 hours and baptized on 29th of December. His birth name was Ios Vissarionovich Jugashvili, and he was nicknamed Soso, a diminutive of Iosb. His parents were Vissarion Jugashvili and Ekaterine Jelets. 8 he was their only child to survive past infancy. 10 Vissarion was a shoemaker who was employed in a workshop owned by another man. 11 It was initially a financial success but later fell into decline. 12 and the family found itself living in poverty. 13 Vissarion became an alcoholic. 14 and drunkenly beat his wife and son. 15 Ekaterina and Stalin left the home by 1883 and began a wandering life, moving through 9 different rented rooms over the next decade. 16 in 1886, they moved into the house of a family friend, Father Christopher Charkviani. 17 Ekaterine worked as a house cleaner and launderer and was determined to send her son to school. 18 In September 1888, Stalin enrolled at the Orthodox Gory Church School. 19 A place secured by Charkviani. 20 Although he got into many fights, 21 Stalin excelled academically. 22 Displaying talent in painting and drama classes. 23 Writing his own poetry. 24 In singing as a choir boy. 25 Stalin faced several severe health problems. An 1884 smallpox infection left him with facial scars. 26 And at age 12 he was seriously injured when he was hit by a Phaeton, likely the cause of a lifelong disability in his left arm. 27 In August 1894, Stalin enrolled in the Orthodox Spiritual Seminary in Tiflis, enabled by a scholarship that allowed him to study at a reduced rate. 28 He joined 600 trainee priests who boarded there. 29 And he achieved high grades. 30 He continued writing poetry. 5 of his poems, on themes such as nature, land and patriotism, were published under the pseudonym of Sosilo in Ilya Chevchevadze's newspaper Iveria, Georgia. 31 According to Stalin's biographer Simon Sebag Montefiore, they became minor Georgian classics. 32 And were included in various anthologies of Georgian poetry over the coming years. 32 As he grew older, Stalin lost interest in priestly studies, his grades dropped. 33 And he was repeatedly confined to a cell for his rebellious behavior. 34 The seminary's journal noted that he declared himself an atheist, stalked out of prayers and refused to doff his hat to monks. 35 Stalin joined a forbidden book club at the school. 36 He was particularly influenced by Nikolai Chernyshevsky's 1863 pro-revolutionary novel What Is to Be Done? 37 Another influential text was Alexander Kazbeghi's The Patricide, with Stalin adopting the nickname Koba from that of the book's bandit protagonist. 38 The pseudonym may also have been a tribute to his wealthy benefactor, Yakobi Koba Agnatashvili, who paid for his schooling at the Tiflis Seminary. Koba is the Georgian diminutive of Yakobi, or Jacob, and Stalin later named his firstborn son in Agnatashvili's honor. 39-40 He also read Das Kapital, the 1867 book by German sociological theorist Karl Marx. 41 Stalin devoted himself to Marx's socio-political theory, Marxism. 42 Which was then on the rise in Georgia, one of various forms of socialism opposed to the empire's governing Tsarist authorities. 43 At night, he attended secret workers' meetings. 44 And was introduced to Silabistra Silvajiblaje, the Marxist founder of Mesamidasi Third Group, a Georgian socialist group. 45 Stalin left the seminary in April 1899 and never returned. 46 99